whatever. I don't need your pity agreements. No. Thanks for, trying to look at something in a different angle, or maybe just listening to me say something different. I don't know. But, I made an assertion, whether it was naive or not, and everybody else might believe something else. And I think some of my best blog posts on my blog come when I make a statement and I get a bunch of people coming back and telling me that I'm wrong. Because I learn a lot there. I'm not just telling people stuff that I've read elsewhere. And yeah, I think that's fantastic that we're able to have this big discussion. I will say that yes, I haven't shipped yet, and so I am ignorant of a number of things. Like if I had an example offhand, that would work better. I don't know. At GDC, there were a number of times where I felt like I said something, like it wasn't even related to game development. I might have just been talking about something else. And I almost got this feeling that a number of people started looking at each other like, oh, OGB's not one of those, not one of us. Which I don't know. Maybe it's because it was my first GDC. I was wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and everyone just kind of like, oh, he's different. But I'm here. I'm full-time indie. I'm trying to make this work. And like Seth said, rules are made to be broken, and so if I don't do things exactly as everyone else does, then that's what's going to happen. Andy, in his multiple videos, and in his fake drunk video, which I was amused by, he talked about how people look at him as if he's a success, and he doesn't see himself that way. Like he has a number of people he looks up to, and he's taken aback by the fact that people look up to him. And it could just be because Steambirds was, kind of the darling in the news media for a while. I don't know. I once read that in theater, like the #1 guy in Chicago who's in theater makes the same as like almost an entry-level programmer would in some financial market or something like that. Like that's the top guy. Everyone wants to be that guy, and everyone else in theater is struggling. I mean, maybe it's kind of the idea, like there's so many people trying to make independent games now, and like me, maybe they found out that it's possible that they could do well making games for themselves. They don't have to work for a company. Like they don't have to go to school and hope they get a job at Nintendo or something like that. But yeah, when you guys are talking about the massive failure rates for a lot of games, and how hard it is to actually become one of those people that can get money through Flash Game License, or break the top 10 in the iPhone's app store thing. I don't have a smartphone. I don't know what they actually called. You talk about these things, and I think that's one of those massive doses of reality for a lot of people. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of stuff that gets covered, like Mike Kasperzak says, that's the successes and everything. But there's a lot of stuff that isn't covered. And I guess that's just like in any industry, but I'm almost seeing like a parallel there. We have Steambirds, which is a success, one of those outliers, even though Andy feels like it's here as opposed to here. I don't know how high my hand can go. And maybe it's kind of like theater, where there's a billion people trying to be actors in theater, and all of them are struggling, and there's only a few that make enough money to pay rent just by being in theater. They don't have to have a side job, and there's like the occasional person who makes enough that if they worked at a entry-level job in a different industry, they'd be making the same amount. I don't know. And so going back to something I had said earlier about being doomed to be poor, I don't actually believe we are. My point was to question what was being said. I guess the big bother I had about small games and making enough to pay for the development of the next game, essentially, was this treadmill that you end up on. That I mean, yeah, we agree that you shouldn't just make a big game without, if you're going to try to make it financially successful, you want to make a game that's small enough that you can put it together relatively quickly, get feedback on it, find out if people like it, and if they do, then build up on it. But I guess what bothers me is the idea that indie game developers maybe don't look to build a big game. Like, I have a project in mind after my current one, which the scope of it is meant to be a bit epic. There's this whole thing about an alien invasion, and you're in charge of managing a small town that managed to survive it and build up some kind of resistance. But I mean, this is meant to be some kind of really big game, and I don't know how small I can make it initially to find out if people are going to like it. I mean, I'm sure there's a number of things, like maybe I just won't implement a whole bunch of stuff and add things as I go, but I also wonder, is it possible that the game itself won't be interesting enough to people until there's enough for people to do? Like, I mean, making a small thing maybe misses the point of that. I don't know. But based on the advice here, I'm going to need a lot of capital, and I'll probably need to make smaller games to help fund that creation. It's going to be, as Phil said, like a little side hobby passion thing until I build it up. I don't know. Unless the right way to approach that is knowing that it's going to be a big game and taking the big risk. But again, capital, needing money for that, and I'm going to be running out of it. I'm seriously looking to get a part-time job in a few months as my money runs out, if I can't make anything with my current project. And yeah, I don't want to get a job in theater, but I'll say this: Andy, you're a hero to a lot of indies, even if you think you're not. Also, go get drunk. Or not. I don't know. You're probably leaving or something. You probably shouldn't get drunk then. I don't know. And Mike, sorry, you lost. You can't win everything.